welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu. Super excited for today's episode because, as you see, I have another guest, but this isn't just any guest. This is Maria Schweitzer. Did I nail that? And many of you may know her already, but she is the founder and owner of Rubber Bones Rash Guard. I know everybody's been seeing me post about them being Rubber Bones being an affiliate partner of the podcast. So I'm super, super excited that she's here. She is also a BJJ practitioner. Maria, welcome to Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Awesome.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while now, but you've had a lot of life events. So, catch me up and tell everybody a little bit about you, kind of what's new in your life, and then we'll jump in and talk a little bit about Rubber Bones itself.
Yeah, I had like a jam-packed 2025. Got married, bought a house, and had a baby.
I mean, that's not that much, Godly, all in like a span of like a year. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was stressful. I don't recommend doing all of those things in one year, but sometimes you can't plan for it, so it happens.
Well, so when did you launch Rubber Bones? Was it like 2020?
Yeah, it was February of 2020. I launched the Kickstarter, and it ran for about a month. I believe it ended like March 2nd or something. Which was wild because then like the pandemic hit and everything shut down and I was unable to fulfill like any of the Kickstarter orders because everything shut down. So that was like I started off, with a weird situation, but everyone was like pretty patient for the most part. So
yeah, and I think jiu-jitsu was kind of shut down for a while. And I was going to ask, was this a COVID business? Anytime you see companies that launch in 2020, you think, oh man, they launched during COVID, and it was pre-COVID.
No, it
was
wasn't
like before the world shut down.
Pre-COVID, yeah.
So I have a funny COVID kind of like start story. So I have a lot of kids. I have 5 boys, 4 still at home, and Easton, who is back at the time he was a little bit of a hypochondriac. He's not anymore. He's kind of grown out of it, but 6 years ago. Anyway, we're sitting at the dinner table and he talks about, he brings up COVID and he's like, yeah, there's this virus out in Japan or China or wherever it was. And it's like spreading. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, we've got all these I kid you not, a week and a half later, the entire country and world shuts down. And he's just dead staring at me. Like, I will never listen to this guy again on anything. So now when he comes and tells me something, I'm like Googling it and like so if Easton brings it.
Yeah, that was such like a wild. I remember like having the conversation. I was in grad school at the time, and I just remember we were talking about it, and like, I remember like there's been other. My mom actually is like growing up, she worked for the health department here as a nurse. So like, I always heard of like flus, like all these kind of things going on, and like it never really like became like the pandemic that like they basically, she like trained to prep in case, worst case scenario. So it was kind of wild to be like worst case scenario kind of game rolled out. But yeah, it was in some ways, I think the pandemic happening like really helped me. I mean, I was also in grad school, so I had like a lot on my plate with that as well. But I think COVID kind of forced me inside, and I spent pretty much that like whole year just like focusing on like my art, being home, and everything, because it just all like everything kind of got halted for a bit.
How did Rubber Bones come about? Right, you obviously have a very unique style, very unique artwork, but what made you say, you know what, I'm going to take this artwork and make a jiu-jitsu apparel company out of it? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu here in a bit, but
yeah, I think to kind of tell this part of Rubber Bones, I almost have to rewind even further back. because I actually was introduced to jujitsu. Like I started drawing jujitsu before I started practicing jujitsu. So, um, my cousin was training, and I was in at this point I was in undergrad. I was in art school, and like I really loved kind of figure drawing. I was more of like a fine artist, so the stuff that you see now is like completely different from what I was making when I was in college. I used to do these like big, charcoal like and graphite size drawings. So basically, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do my senior thesis on, which is basically you spend like your senior year in where I was going, which was the Maryland Institute College of Art. You spend a year kind of creating a body of work and building it out for the end of the year, which you then have like a big. They do like this big like walk through art gallery, and the whole school kind of becomes like an art gallery, and everybody shows like their thesis, and you work on your artist statement and everything. So I was kind of like trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I knew I liked sports. I knew I liked drawing figures. And so I sat in on my cousin's jujitsu class and I just started drawing. And I remember I kind of didn't think too much of it. And then when I went in for the fall semester, I brought those sketches with me. And my professor at the time was like, these are pretty cool. Like you should kind of expand on this. So that was kind of where it started. But I didn't know anything about jujitsu. So I would just watch YouTube videos and I would draw from watching it on because at the time I was in Baltimore and there weren't any jujitsu schools really near us. And I didn't have a car or anything, and I wasn't about to go wandering around Baltimore trying to find a jujitsu school to draw. So I would like pretty much just watch kind of clips on YouTube, and I was kind of learning it through there. And I spent the whole year drawing it. Get out, make all these giant drawings, graduate. I remember I sold one of them like during the walkthrough because like people walk through to buy art. But then after that, like I remember I was trying to like get into galleries, and I'm like, these people don't care about jujitsu. Like the audience was wrong. Like the I really loved it, and like but the audience was just wrong. Like the fine art scene was not interested in it, at least at that time, or the way I was doing it, perhaps. Because I had a lot of growth to do anyway. I mean, I was only like coming out of college. I was like 21. So yeah, I started training because I was like, well, maybe I'll get some sort of inspiration. And I've been watching it for so long and I was kind of bored. Like I'm a very like structured person. I like sports. I like, whatever. So I kind of was like, school was over and I was like, let me join a different type of school. So I started training jujitsu, fell in love with it, got obsessed with it, and kind of put the artwork for the most part, it kind of jujitsu related artwork kind of died down. And then when I got to grad school, at this point, most of my jujitsu and my art had been separate. And I remember I was talking to a professor about, I wanted to get some freelance work, and he was like, draw what you like. And so that was that summer before I started Rubber Bones. I made these like two horror kind of jujitsu themed illustrations, which is now stickers on the site. It's like the rear naked choke skeleton, which one, and then that Frankenstein looking goblin one. And I had done a friend of ours, like at the school, was running a tournament, and I was like, "Can I make a rash guard for the tournament? I'll make the posters and everything. I'll make it look like a comic book. Like I kind of decked out the poster to look like an old school like horror comic. And I remember I think I printed like 50 rash guards and I sold all of them. And I was like, huh, this is kind of cool. And people were asking me, for like short sleeve versions or whatever. And like, I just kind of, that's when it started brewing. And then I was in a class the spring semester and they had us kind of write down our goals. And one of the goals was I wanted to start selling rash guards online. But I just kind of like wrote it down. I still have the paper and everything scanned in my computer. And yeah, it was just one day I kind of was like, you know what? I'm just going to like, if I don't do it now, like I'm never going to do it. And I just sat down, started writing down like different ideas for names. And I was like, I'm going to do a Kickstarter. And like within 2 weeks, got the whole thing together, had a film myself. My friend's a videographer and photographer, my best friend. So that helped. She helped me like shoot everything. We came up with the Kickstarter video. I came up with like a bunch of, different like tiers of backing, like, products. And then Yeah, it just, like, went from there.
No,
That
I
was, like, a
love it.
long-winded answer,
You
but
answered like
I
7
feel like I kinda
questions
have to
that I have about the origin of Rubber Bones, and I love it. Well, that's how you and I got connected. Remember, I reached out to you. So I found your Kickstarter, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go find her and see if she's on LinkedIn. And I was working at Cinta, and I found you, reached out to you, introduced, said, hey, I'm because I was thinking about like doing some merch or something for the podcast. And I was like, well, I'm broke. I have no
Mhm.
money
Yeah, I remember.
to do this. So but like your
Mhm.
Kickstarter was like so good. And I was like, oh man, I need to have that conversation. Of course I never did. I mean, I think I got a couple rash guards, but we'll talk about what we're doing a little bit later, and maybe all that'll change. So, no, Rubber Bones, very catchy name. Two questions. Like, one, how did you come up with and decide on Rubber Bones as the name? And then, like, this blending of horror, I can't say that's Georgia, you know, horror movies or whatever, or characters, and like jujitsu, with like how did that originate? Is it a passion? Did you like watching, I don't know, like Dracula? I don't
Um, so the name, we'll start there. There was another time that I was thinking about coming up with a rash guard company, and I remember the name was, like, so boring, and I never wound up doing anything with it, and then, when I revisited this idea, I was like, "It needs to be fun." Like, there's so many brands out there that just kind of have, like, a very, kinda, like, stereotypical, just, like, name of, like, a fightwear company, and I was like, "How poker," whatever. So I was like, "How can I how can I make it funny?" Because I'm like a very I'm a very I'm serious about what I do, but I enjoy humor. I like to make people laugh. I always have, and like so I wanted to do something that was going to read like that, and it wasn't going to be like super hyper masculine. Um, and it was going to be fun. So I kind of started thinking about. I mean, as I think a lot of females in jujitsu, we find that we're a little bit more flexible than the guys. So that was kind of where the idea came from of like, what are kind of some like adjectives and things that would kind of describe somebody who's like flexible, and what would that mean, right? Like you would be hard to submit. So that was kind of where rubber bones came from, right? If you have rubber bones, you're going to be hard
know. Just like doing
to
jujitsu with
submit. So
Gumby
that
with
was
some females. I mean,
yeah.
we used to have God, I can't remember her name now. It was when I first started jujitsu at Iron Wolf, and I mean, uh, like there was an armbar or a wrist lock or anything she was ever tapping to. I mean, it was so weird. Like her wrist with her hand for her wrist would literally lay on her arm, and like, what do you do with that? You know?
Yeah, I know somebody that he's a guy, but he no matter what, this guy does not tap the arm bars, and it's, like, actually
Oh, he's got
disgusting.
one of those arms that, like, go in, like, I can barely that's as
Just, like,
far as I
hyper
can
extend.
stretch mine. You can see the curve, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even put it out now and that hurts, so, yeah, I'm definitely not flexible, but I'm also old, so, um, no, awesome. So what about the kind of the imagery of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to school for I really love comic books. Um, so I'm not, like, a horror movie person. Um, I'm kind of I'm a true crime person, but I'm not, like, a horror, um, so much. I've definitely seen the classics or, like, some of them, but I enjoy horror comics more. And I also find like drawing the detail to be kind of relaxing in some ways, right? Like the more kind of grotesque I can make it, the more detailed and everything, the more fun I have while I'm drawing it. So yeah, it was like a combination of that. Like just kind of wanted to blend like a comic book style with jujitsu, um, in like a unique kind of way that took a lot of the things that I am like inspired by, and like I'm very much nostalgic for like growing up in the 90s, and I think, I try to bring that vibe to my artwork, whether it's with colors, just like the style of the drawing and everything like that.
So, your brand's starting to really connect, and it's been probably connecting with people for a long time. When did you specifically start to notice the brand was connecting to those maybe outside your inner circle? I would imagine it kind of started there, but now, it's a big brand.
Yeah, and I think that was the scariest part, to be honest, putting my stuff out there, and letting it leave the inner circle, right? Because it's especially the internet. You get a lot of people that love to comment, um, and I think for me that was really hard, just from like past experiences, of like the criticism and stuff that could come with that. Which like I'm very used to, just going to art school. You get a lot of harsh critiques. But in some ways, I feel like it kind of scars you to anticipate the harsh critiques. But I think like I launched the Kickstarter, and it was, I think, when some people started backing it that I didn't know, that I was like, oh, like I've never seen this name before, right? Because like initially you start something, it's a lot of the guys at the school, girls at the school, and then like I just remember it kind of picking up a little bit of momentum organically. I didn't run any ads, so organically was picking up a little bit of momentum, and that was kind of when I was like, huh, like I guess like people might resonate with this who don't even know me, like I'm doing something right, because they're kind of, it's the feeling that I want them to get when they buy it, or like the feeling I want them to feel to make the purchase, like clearly kind of
Right.
like resonated with them. So um that I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I
no,
think answers. Does that
absolutely.
answer
And
your
I
question?
I was wondering how much like um how do I want to say this? Maybe the impact in kicking it off, like your gym where you were training at, and the people there had in it, like helping, um, I don't know, liking, sharing, whatever. I think it's really cool that we live in an age. I mean, I like I was born in 1979, right? So the internet wasn't around when I was a kid, or if I was, going to start a business. It's like I think when something resonates, and social media is here, where it's able to be shared faster and grow faster, and I can 100% um, relate to what you said. Right, it gets scary, it gets you get a little nervous. I was the same way with
Mhm.
caffeinated jujitsu. I just did this for fun. I didn't think it would really grow to kind of what it is, because there's so many awesome jujitsu like podcasts. And, no, but yeah, when it comes to your gym, well, where do you train at first? I don't think we've talked about that yet.
Um, so I did most of my training
That's
at 10th
right.
Planet,
That's
Long
right. You did
Island.
it initially.
Um,
Yeah, 10th planet. So no gi.
yeah, but now yeah, I've
Okay.
moved further east, um, since. So I've been training at over under jujitsu. So eventually, like I'll be going trying to hit up more classes at 10th Planet, but right now it's like a 35-40 minute drive with traffic. So it's like with the a lot of times I got to bring the baby. So it's like kind of the other school's
Oh,
5 minutes from my house. So I can get a lot more training in. He can last in the car seat or the stroller for a lot longer. Um, so eventually, yeah, because I've been training under Steve Caston at 10th Planet since 2014. It wasn't 10th Planet at that point, but eventually it became 10th Planet. So been training, little injuries mixed in there and stuff, but some time off when I was pregnant. But other than that, I've been pretty
yeah.
consistently under
What belt level
training.
are you? Brown belt. Okay, that's what I thought.
Brown belt.
I didn't know if you'd gotten your black belt since we last talked. So no, or talked about jujitsu. So you started, jujitsu, and the brand. Well, I won't say the brand had kind of necessarily launched, but the concept was there. But thinking about your jujitsu, and now at brown belt level, do you? I mean, do you still kind of remember some of the first classes and struggles and your first impressions of, okay, I've been drawing jujitsu, but now I'm actually doing it? Was it like, what did I get myself into? Kind of what was your first impressions? If you can think back to that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'd never done a martial art before. I was always like a team sport kind of person. So I coming from like a lacrosse, soccer, and tennis background, jujitsu was like very different, right? Like the close contact and everything. But yeah, I remember like initially just being terrified of getting injured all the time, because everybody like makes it like, I don't know, it's like this kind of like thing of like everybody just assumes like you're gonna like severely injure yourself, which I mean I have gotten some pretty bad injuries, but I mean I've always been able to get back on the mat. Um, so I remember like that kind of fear. But I just remember like thinking about how cool it was and like how much I saw like parallels between the practice of making art and the practice of jujitsu and like kind of taking this like I take in some ways I think I got where I am with my artwork and like that because of my background in sports, right? And taking that commitment of like practicing to my artwork. Like I would just sit and draw hands. Like, I would be like, all right, I'm gonna draw like hands every day this week. Then I would be like, all right, I'm gonna practice drawing hair every day. Like, and that's kind of like how I got built my art practice and like my art skills was being very diligent. And taking it like how you would drilling like, a position, I was drilling in my artwork. Um, so, and then when I got to jujitsu, I think it kind of like played back and forth with that, where, I was taking things that I was learning in jujitsu and some abstractly applying it to my art, and then taking things that I knew about art and just creativity, and feeling that creativity in jujitsu. I think it's like probably one of the most creative sports I've ever played, like, participated in. Played is like a weird word to use for jujitsu, but like, just kind of doing that. There's like an interesting parallel there that I always really liked, a nice dynamic.
So, thank you for sharing, that piece about the creativity of it all. What I want to do is kind of add a little bit of a layer to that, in that, um, every artist has this like brainstorming type probably process, I would imagine you go through, to when you do a drawing, right? Um, is it similar to when maybe you're building a new game, in jujitsu, right? And maybe talk us through a little bit what your creativity kind of process is when you think about, and we can even use the caffeinated jujitsu and collab or whatever as an example. But like, what's this process you go through, both for creating art for Rubber Bones and improving and adding to your jujitsu at a brown belt level?
Yeah. I think I'll kind of break it down into two. So like with my artwork, um in some ways I think the process like is never stopping, right? The process never stops. Like I'm always thinking about ideas and draw like, the drawing I did for the caffeinated jujitsu. Like, I mean, I had from the when we spoke that we had mentioned kind of talked about doing a collaboration, like to the point of that point to like when I drew it, like there's always kind of been like a brainstorming kind of going on in my head. I think it's when I take the step of taking the brainstorming, and then I usually will create some sort of like mood board, or I just go out to create one. But sometimes like with this, I wound up just straight up drawing it. I think I got like one or two things and then was like, I just went for it. But yeah, typically I'll kind of like figure out like the colors I'm thinking, inspiration, like A lot of reference photos, especially if I'm doing like a jujitsu submission or something in the drawing. Like I make sure I have like a good amount of reference photos to make sure that like it's accurate because people love to comment on a cartoon on whether or not it's realistic. Kind of funny about
Oh
it.
my gosh. It's like
So,
it's a cartoon, it's a drawing, man. It's
yeah,
like we're not talking about, like, real life here.
I have a funny.
So, zombies don't exist, dude.
Before I did Rubber Bones, like a while before that, I did, and you know what's funny? Gracie Magazine reposted it, and they never tagged me or gave me any credit. And
What?
yeah, and it went like anyway. Feel better about it. So I did this drawing of Belle from like Beauty and the Beast, like arm barring, like the Beast, like from,
Oh,
and the Beast
man,
is like
that's
standing or
awesome.
whatever. And the comments were like hilarious. I mean, they were like, her dress should be like over her head. Like they basically wanted like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna draw a Disney character with her dress on. Like it was
Oh
wild.
my
But
god.
the criticism of that one made me laugh because it was like it's not that serious. Like this isn't like nobody's gonna be
Yeah.
like trying to learn the technique of the armbar from this drawing. Like take it for what it is or whatever. So
Like, if
that
it's a
was funny.
choke, that thumb should be thumb in.
Yeah,
It's
no,
4 fingers
that's the
in, palm
details
up.
that
It's
and now
like,
I
what?
obsess over those details when I draw because I wanna avoid people getting right? Because sometimes those things are distracting. I mean, even for me, if
Yeah.
I see a
Yeah.
drawing, I'm like, "That's not really how that works."
Well, it's 'cause it's a specific community,
Yeah,
right? Like, I mean, it's like if a black belt sees the drawing, they're gonna like, that
yeah,
may stand out to them, you know?
yeah. It's funny, I have one that the Alien, the Invasion rash guard that I did, it was a weird triangle. It was an inverted triangle or like a reverse triangle. So and I had taken it like from a reference, like a very specific reference. And like the amount of people that I would email me like, "This isn't real. This isn't work. This isn't how it like works." I would get comments. I'm like, I would send them like the technique and be like, "Yeah, it's not like a traditional triangle." Like, and I'm sure I probably could have drawn. That was one of my first like drawings for Rubber Bones. And that was one that was pretty popular. But I got a lot of grief on that, and I'm like, never again am I doing a reverse triangle on a drawing. It was just a lot,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I love it. It kinda brings me to the section of the conversation I wanna have is, right, like, designing, this artwork for the grappling community, and, one of the questions was around asking you, like, how do you, pay attention to details, and there's no way you're gonna please everyone, but no, back to the question and the process 'cause I definitely don't wanna miss out on anything. So, like, it sounds like, you think about, maybe a theme that you're looking at, or if it's a
Mhm.
technique, thinking, "Okay, I need to make sure that this is legit, right? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get a 1,000 hate comments," like, um but yeah, like, anything else, and then also, like, and this is more for me, I'm gonna be selfish here while I have you on. Anytime I have an upper belt, I'm a little selfish. When you're developing kind of a new game or being creative on the mats, like, is the process similar there?
Um,
Or have
I
you? I
would
mean,
say
at brown belt, you may be like, "Hey, this is my game. Take it
I
or
feel
leave it."
like it's and maybe this is just my lack of confidence, but, like, for me, I feel like my jujitsu skill level is still a lot further behind where my art is. So, I don't feel as confident, I feel like being as creative, right, or taking the risks. But the risk taking is obviously there. I mean, like as a brown belt, I've developed like my own kind of game and I've definitely like leaned into things that I like more than other people. But I think in terms of like the process with jujitsu, I feel like I spend a lot of time, like I'll spend a lot of time on one concept for like a long time, right? Whereas like in some ways, I guess you could say Rubber Bones is spending time in that one kind of aesthetic or genre. But I think with my jujitsu, I'm a little bit more maybe structured still, so that I feel like I'm learning the details and everything. Whereas, like, I feel like my foundation in art and where I am now is like a little bit in a different space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, no, 100%. Yeah, I wonder sometime, like, what my mindset will be at brown belt, when I get to that point. I mean, it'll be years from now, because my mindset now is if it's not half guard or close guard, I don't do anything with it. I don't invert, I don't like, all my sweeps are half guard or close
Okay.
guard, all my
Yeah.
attacks are half guard or close guard. I mean, I'm fighting these monsters on the mat. I mean, like collegiate state champion wrestlers.
Yeah.
And if I don't know how you do it, you've reached brown belt and pretty much just all no gi, because I would imagine, I'm assuming because you
Yeah,
were
I mean,
10th
I
planet.
trained in the
10th
gi until
planet is holistically no gi, right?
yeah, I trained, in the gi until I was about just about a purple belt, and then we
Oh,
switched
okay. So you have some time in the gi,
yeah,
right?
and then we
Has it been
switched over
okay?
to 10th Planet, and then I spent pretty much purple and all of purple and then,
Okay.
so far.
Okay.
But now I'm training in the gi again at this other schools, which I've been enjoying. It's kind of
Okay,
like
yeah,
a
yeah. I
refresh.
remember us talking one time before, maybe our initial conversation. I think you remember you were no gi for life. You loved no gi,
Yeah, I
and
do love it. I still love it. It is though, like, kind of refreshing to go back to the gi now and kind of seeing how it translates and then also how it doesn't.
so thinking. I want us to go back. I have a couple more things I want to explore with designing for grapplers, and um, it's more around how you decide, and maybe you don't. I don't know. How you decide what type of artwork to create for, say, to appeal to, you know, kids, men, and women in the sport? Or do you feel like you've kind of, uh, with the overall brand at Rubber Bones, you've kind of nailed that, right? You obviously sell to all three, but do you keep that in mind when you develop? And I'm thinking like the legalized leg locks,
Yeah.
uh, uh, apparel that you have, which everybody in jiu-jitsu probably loves,
Mhm.
regardless. But does that question, does
Yeah,
it
I
kind of
think
make sense? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I've done a
eh,
lot of one of, like, my passions is I read a lot on marketing and branding, and I've done a lot of work, just thinking about what Rubber Bones is, like, I guess, answering for people, right? Like, one of the things I follow, like, a lot of marketing people like Seth Godin and stuff, and, like, kind of often brings up, like, what problem are you solving for them or like what are you right? And so I think of it more in terms of that than like necessarily being like this will appeal to men, this will appeal to women, this will appeal to kids. It's more like who do I want to this to resonate with and like what is it doing for them, right? Like why would they buy it? And so I think about that and like and like with that in mind that helps me stay true to Rubber Bones, right? Because I could go and make rash guards, right, that are trending, right? Like, I mean, I've seen like about a zillion different versions of like the USA or like the soccer, like, the World Cup.
oh yeah, the World Cup, yeah, BJJ Fanatics is full of. They have 4 different new rash
Yeah, and
guards
and I
for
could
that.
do
Yeah.
something like that, but I often like, need to step back and be like, well, I'm not making stuff for those people, right? And I don't need to make things for everybody. And I think that's where people sometimes get lost when it comes to finding like their audience and I've kind of found my audience, and then the goal is to like give them what they want. And then I think what helps is like I'm that audience too. So a lot of times I'm just like, this is cool. I like this. This makes me feel this way. And then it's going to kind of resonate with people who feel like similar.
I think it helps a lot. I love that answer, by the way. I think it helps a lot that you were an artist before you were a jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? You
Mhm.
were like, you are like, the art takes precedence over, you know, anything else, I would imagine, right? Like, you have this, this brand, this, like, you're true to that. And you like, you developed this before you were even heavily influenced by what, a professor or something may say in the
Yeah.
comment area. So that's really, really cool. When it comes to, I know how important the art is, right? And the designs, but I mean, quality. How important is it? Because I have rash guards. I have the gi. I love the gi, by the way. I mean, it's one of my favorite gis.
Hmm.
Um, my go-to's always been 93 brand.
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
but,
which
like,
is like one
your
of my go-tos
gis
as
feel
well.
like you're wearing, like, an Origin brand or something. It's that good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, how important is quality to you?
I think I drive my manufacturer insane. Because I am, my husband likes to describe me as meticulous. I am, it's really important to me. And like when, when things aren't done to my standards, typically, one, I don't ever feel comfortable putting something out that I wouldn't myself feel comfortable buying like at that price or something knowing. Um, yeah, it's really, I mean, the artwork itself, I literally scan with a fine tooth comb before I send that artwork in. Like, I mean, if there's a spec, there are times where like they've printed I now we've kind of created a system. They actually have, show you. I had them do this for me just because like I'm such a stickler on color and everything. Like I just have like books of colors on the rash guard materials so that I can really make sure that my coloring matches like my drawings and everything so that when it prints it looks how I intended. Um, but I mean, there are times where like I'll have them run a test print and like I'll zoom in and be like, there's a speck like on that from like a layer that I didn't realize, and like I'll resend the files, I'll reset everything up because I just
Yeah.
can't live with it going out like that. But same thing, I mean, with the stitches, like I always tell everybody, like if there anything ever, if the rash guard ever falls apart, if you ever have any issues, like message me. My manufacturers are great. I always send them, I'll say, hey, somebody sent me this, why do you think this happened? Can we make sure, it doesn't happen in the future? I've troubleshooted a lot of like issues that did happen in the past with shorts and things. I mean, that's why I got rid of Velcro. I just felt like there was like a lot of issues with Velcro shorts that were bothering me. They ruin other garments too, and the way you wash them if you don't close the Velcro. It's
Mhm.
just so I found like getting rid of that and then kind of troubleshooting the different areas of the shorts and the rash guards. And I worked at other than doing Rubber Bones, I've been an in-house graphic designer for other companies. And I was one for like a sports like swimwear company. And was friendly with like the tech designer and actually had her help me figure out all my sizing. So even my sizing, I feel I wanted to get as accurate as possible for kids and for adults. So that was something that like I quality there, like I wanted to limit. I wanted people, especially as an e-commerce brand, to feel confident ordering from me online. Because I feel like with rash guards, a lot of times, you're a medium in one brand and then you're an extra large in another brand. So I just kind of wanted to get that confusion out of the way and like be pretty much like if you wear a medium, like you're going to be a medium. If you typically wear a large, you're going to wear a large. You don't have to like guess. And I still, I always offer free returns and everything. So
Yeah. I love hearing you talk about quality because, like, you have some really bright, like, artwork.
mhm.
Even some of your new recent launches, and, I mean, the color holds. I was talking to Emily, who wears rubber bones at Iron Wolf as well.
Mhm.
She's got a couple of, and I think she has some of the OG stuff, right? And which is really bright. And I love that. I love the material and the feel. And you're right about sizing. I sometimes have to guess. Like
Mhm.
I get stuff from BJJ Fanatics. And then when I trained at Alliance, you had to wear Alliance gear, and it was all Kings. Or it was either King or Fuji, right? And
Mm.
you need a root. You need some kind of like what's that Asian like thing? It's like a math tool where you slide the things over. What's it called?
Oh,
Oh, abacus. Is it an abacus?
I don't
Yeah,
know. I
like,
know
well,
of
I think it's called the abacus. You gotta almost have that to get the right fit, and it can be way different.
yeah.
So, it's really, really cool, and your point about the Velcro, absolutely. Um, I mean, I love my King, no-gi, shorts, but I'm about to have to retire them because they don't close all the way, and I don't wanna have an
Yeah. You
accident on
know
the mat and get
yeah.
kicked out of my academy because that would be you can't go back from that.
Yeah. Yeah, the Velcro is kinda rough with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no. Let's talk a little bit about, let's talk a little bit about maybe some of your favorite artwork that you've designed or launches or partnerships that you've, done, and you don't have to say caffeinated jujitsu, I'm just saying, but no, what are, it seems like legalized leg locks would probably fly off the shelves. I mean, everybody loves leg locks. Uh,
Yeah. That
any
one was
any
fun.
favorites you have?
Yeah, that one, the original, like, Legalized Leg Loss one was fun. The newer one, I actually had another artist draw that. It's the only other time I've ever had an artist other than myself draw, for Rubber Bones, but I couldn't pass it up because, Joe Tamponi's work is literally like it I love his work, and he's actually, like, on my Pinterest board of, like, inspiration, and he had reached out to me one day, like, "I found your brand. Any interest in, like, using me, do you need any work?" And, like, I was like, "Yes."
You
But
you were fangirling. I
yeah, so
fanboy too.
that was really cool, and just to see how someone else would, like, handle that prompt of, like, so that was cool to work with him. But, some favorites, I mean, I would say this recent Halloween one I did was, like, really fun. I started drawing it on a skateboard, which I haven't released the art because I never got to finish it because I was heavily pregnant and my rib was felt like it was stabbing me at all times, so I dude, it was bad. I couldn't sit for 2 months. I couldn't, like, sit in a chair. So, I had to be, like, reclined back, so I wasn't able to finish it, so that's, like, on my list of things to do, and then I'll send it out, but the trick or treat, like, Halloween artwork, um, I feel like because that's, like, one of the more horror ones I've done, in recent the Yeti one was also kind of horror-esque, and that one was cool because it was, like, the first thing I did postpartum where I, like, drew again, um, because
Taking
that
all the anxiety and stress out in the art.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's like
Because it
that
was
guillotine looks deep on Wolfman. Oh man.
yeah, it's a metaphor for how I was feeling. No, so it was just like, I don't know, I try to, like, the Tora Oni one too, like, I mean, I love my dojo cat drawing, I'm looking at it over here because I love cats. My cat is like my firstborn son. Um, but yeah, I don't know, I kinda, like, love drawing it all.
What so the USA one, the one of the more recent ones, what was the inspiration behind that? Was
With
that a collab or
with the Yeti one?
the Yeti one?
No,
Yeah,
that was,
USA.
the Winter
That
Olympics.
was cool.
The Winter Olympics were going on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
I
also
figured that
know
may have been it.
yeah, the Olympics have really and I learned this from working with another company that I was working with, they are, like, crazy strict with, their, like, copyright branding and stuff. So I wanted to, like, do it in a way that steered clear of any issues with that. So thus Yeti Games was born. But, yeah, that was just like, the Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics, so, like, it was just kinda like I wanted to do something fun that kind of was reminiscent of it, but again, didn't, step on any toes. Is that something that I'm pretty, careful about? I try to be, because a lot of people, like, always ask for requests of, like, "Can you draw," like, they'll name, like, a horror character, and I'm like, I could do it for fun. I'll draw, like, I'll do a drawing of me drawing it and post it, but, like, I can't sell anything with it.
Yeah, you definitely gotta be careful with Disney. Make
Yeah.
sure that they're wearing the right dress.
Yeah.
You don't want, okay, I don't even know who the CEO of Disney is anymore.
Yeah.
Um, do you find, well, I guess that question's, a little redundant, but has well, actually, let me reposition it. Have you been surprised by any, um launches or anything product that you've created at Rubber Bones, the success of it? Like, was it a hat? Was it a rash guard? Is anything you've been like, well, when I was creating it, I didn't think it would be the best selling thing in the company?
Um, yeah, there's a few that have, like, turned into bestsellers, which I'm always kind of figuring out, like, how do with the limited runs, sometimes I wanna bring back ones that have passed, but, I think, like, the natural grappler one really, like, people loved, um, with it was, like, that maroonish kind of vibe with the white, graphic on it, um, and not that, like, I didn't love that drawing or anything, but it was, just people still ask me, like, about whether that's coming back or not, and it's like, it's nice to get those emails, when I have something, like, that's out of stock and people are like, "Is this ever coming back?" I typi Yeah. Typically, I don't bring stuff back, but, like, I just redropped the mint drift because that was another one that, like, did people are asking me about, so I restocked all that actually yesterday. So those are back out, but, yeah, I think the legalized leg locks too, I mean, like, people have come to me and been like, someone was wearing it, like, in people buy that one out of the country a lot, I've noticed.
Oh yeah. Well, I would imagine like a ton of 10th Planet people would be walking around with that thing.
Yeah, but I've gotten, like,
Like,
people in, like, the UK or, like, Ireland love it.
dude, you should get like Gordon Ryan or John Donaher or like Craig Jones to rock it. Just figure out a way to do that. We'll tag them in the episode. Like, hey man, I know you guys like leg or who the guys Daisy Fresh, those guys.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all about leg locks there. I've had to, so I've been training for about 3.5 years now, and I'm just now getting into like leg locks because like where I was training before, like it's very structured, right? You had like certain belts,
Yeah,
learn certain things, and like you can start learning heavy leg lock stuff like knee bars and stuff to like purple and brown belt, man. So I'm like way behind.
yeah,
Like here, kids are knee barring, and I'm like, what?
yeah. Yeah,
This
I don't know
teenager
how
was
I
shooting a
feel
knee bar on me.
I don't know how I feel about, like, when it's interesting. I mean, I feel I don't I feel like, I didn't start doing leg locks until probably, like, late blue, early purple, and even then, it was really, like, the foundations of it. Now I kind of, much more, like, technical, interested in, like, a lot of different entries and, things like that, but, yeah, I don't know how I feel about kids doing leg locks.
Yeah,
People might make
we
a shirt that's, like, legalized leg locks and, like
I think
I'm like, "Actually, though, maybe we shouldn't."
yeah, when you're at IBJJF Junior and your opponent has a legalized
Yeah,
leg locks rubber bone kit on, regardless of if it's legal or not,
yeah,
you know how that person feels. Um, I don't go for a lot of leg locks, honestly, because I think I'm a little dumb, and
well, it's a
the
whole, like
mechanics of heel hook just
yeah,
what?
it's
Like turning the opposite way, I'm like, but I got the nah. I
yeah, it's meticulous.
it's
The
yeah,
details
it's
of leg
like
lock. Or
Like, I watch videos of, like, Gordon Ryan or something, like, just popping a heel hook on in seconds, and I'm like, I, like, have to, like, position and move
yeah, it took me
around,
so
and I'm
long.
like,
I still struggle sometimes with finding that the right bite, but I feel like now my game is a lot of leg locks. I'm that's like kind of I feel like a lot of the submissions probably I hit like in just training in the gym, but
have you ever landed a leg lock while wearing the Rubber Bones legalized leg locks? If not, you should make that a goal. Like, you should,
I
like,
mean, not
grab it
in
and it's
like
like,
a
"I'm gonna go."
competition. I don't really compete, but probably
That
I'm
would be
sure
cool.
I
The
wear that
owner of
regularly.
Rubber Bones landing a leg lock while while
Yeah.
wearing. Oh, man. Yeah, put that on a goal board. I think I would do that. I would be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try this." It'd have to be a choke, though, because I can't. I mean, everything I try to do are chokes. Just again, I'm old, I'm not athletic, and I don't want somebody trying to break my foot. Um, so let's talk about we've got are you okay to go over about maybe 5 minutes? I know we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
trying to keep
Fun.
okay, good. So yeah, let's talk about collaboration. I know you and I we're doing a collab coming soon. Super excited about that. And but when it comes to deciding uh, who to collaborate with and who not to, I mean, because you can't collaborate with everybody because maybe they don't connect with the brand, or and you have to kind of protect your brand.
Mhm.
Um, what's kind of the process, and how do you think about that, right? Like, what yeah, how do you go about deciding who to collaborate with, who to partner with, um, to help grow your brand?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty particular, especially when it comes to like athletes who wear. I don't. One of my things is like I'm still small and I can't. I try to be like upfront with people, like I can give you gear and stuff, but I can't be like helping you pay for travel yet. Love to. I would love to, but I can't. So, but I feel like I always like make sure people's values are aligned. I think there's a people, the community, like, I try to make sure who, like, the way they represent themselves, is important to me. I think just like the values and everything that somebody, I think the way people portray themselves online can tell you a lot about them. So, um, but not to say like, it's they need to like align with me exactly like politically or something, not things like that. I try to steer clear of, but I just think like I try to make sure people are being, decent human beings. And that's kind of like where because there's a lot of I don't like the trash talking kind of stuff. I don't like people that like, instigate on social media because my brand's supposed to be fun and I want people to have fun and like have confidence and I want people to wear like rubber bones because I want them to like feel more confident in themselves or feel like build them up. And I don't want to partner or be associated with people that get a rise out of bringing people down. So I mean, that's really
Yeah, I love that. Well, it makes me feel good too that we're partnering because it makes you think I'm cool. No, I think it's around the same way I choose who to have on the show or partner with as well. All the politics and I say even the religion. I'm not a religious person, but if you're religious, that's awesome. But like I just all that stuff is your personal stuff, and what we're talking about like how jujitsu changes, you as a person and the benefits of it. And like I started caffeinated jujitsu because I was a white belt that was confused and I was overwhelmed, but I was, intrigued and addicted
Mhm.
and obsessed. And I wanted a place where I could develop content for people, within the first few years of jujitsu. But then, I noticed that the conversations really started turning into what jujitsu did for those who were practicing it.
Yeah.
Whether it's inspiring them to launch a rash guard business or helping them get over trauma. I mean, there's so many people I talk to that help people get over trauma. But
Yeah.
like if you bring people on and all they start talking about is, well, the government this and that, you've got these and start dropping all these, I don't know, it's clickbait terms we hear like fake news and snowflakes and all just all of this stuff, right? Like that's not what
Yeah.
we're talking about and doing. And
Well, and I think one of the cool things about jujitsu, especially coming from the art world, and I mean, going to art school, um, you I mean, going to art school is probably one of the most. I met so many interesting people, all different people, and so it kind of the same thing happened when I joined jujitsu. It's like kind of opened me up to meeting a lot of people that I probably would never meet, had I just kind of stayed in the art world, right? And it kind of, I'm friends with people that don't align with me all the time, or ever, but but I feel like jujitsu kind of is that's kind of the thing I love about it. That kind of brings people together who might not normally hang out. Um, and yeah, I think I want to keep Rubber Bones in that same kind of realm, you know, bringing people together without pigeonholing it.
without being all like all in our feelings about it, you want to be fun, right? Exciting and
Yeah,
engaging. And like that's what I love about the name like caffeinated jujitsu and rubber bones. Like those like instantly are fun
yeah,
names. And um and I love coffee. I really love
me
coffee.
too. I've been drinking
Oh
coffee
my
every day
god.
since I was probably 13.
Oh my god. If my doctor said like, "Joe, you can't drink any more coffee," I would be like, "Hey, it's been real. I'm
I've been drinking
checking
mushroom
out
coffee.
soon."
I've been drinking the mushroom coffee. Have you tried that yet?
I haven't, but somebody told me about it when I was working at Senta, because because it's got an aroma and I would smell it. It's a little bit different, right? It's a little
Mhm.
extra bitter of aroma. And I asked him, and it's like, yes, mushroom coffee. Have you ever tried? I was like, I don't know about that, but I
It
need to try it. I need to
it
try it.
I mean, I drink coffee black, like regular coffee, but, I am enjoying the mushroom coffee, switching it up a
I'm
little
gonna
bit.
try it because you're the second person to highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy it
usually you
better
don't get
iced.
two recommendations if something sucks.
Yeah, I enjoy it better iced than hot, but that's also because I never get to drink a hot cup of coffee anymore. It just turns cold, so I've just now decided to just drink iced coffee because
Yeah, I do like iced coffee. I don't drink it a lot. I refuse. I refuse um, to drink decaf because I think that's weird. That's fake. What is that?
I'll
Why does
drink
that even
decaf
exist?
I'll drink
Like,
decaf at night if I'm,
I
like, out
will listen.
at a
I will
restaurant.
drink. I can drink coffee full, like Death Wish level coffee, and at like 6 p.m. and sleep fine. I'm that addicted. Right, my
Yeah,
body's like
I
that
can't have
used to it. It's like
coffee
water.
I can't have coffee past, like, 1 PM.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
have to have at least a cup and a half after one. Anyway, okay, weird question. And I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna give you some context, but I'm gonna ask the question first. Like, do you have an alter ego? And what I mean by that, it's weird, right? What I mean by that, so the artwork for Rubber Bones very specific, very noticeable, right?
Mhm.
But as an artist, do you have like this other work that like just nobody knows about, like oh gosh. What's that thing when artists write, but they write under a different name?
Oh, wow, like a pseudonym? Like
Yeah,
a
yeah, like so
yeah, I
because
forget what
like
that's
me,
called.
I'm a very engaging person. I like to talk to people and stuff. But like also there's this part of me that just wants to like live in a cabin deep in like New Zealand and like nobody be around me ever. And I just sit on my porch and drink coffee and listen to waterfalls or snow. Like there's that part of me. So does that exist for you?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's just less brand, you know, yeah, it's just so far from Rubber Bones that I don't really ever post it. Maybe sometimes on my personal page, but I love like a visual journalism. So like
Ooh, what is that? I don't even what is that?
so just kind of like drawing, like almost journaling, but in the form of like sketching, right? Like sketchbooks.
Oh, oh, like you're looking at something and
Yeah,
drawing what you see.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
like,
All right.
if I go on vacation, like, I'll bring a sketchbook and I'll draw that vacation, you know?
So
Like
there's sketchbooks full of these types of drawings out there that the world hasn't seen.
yeah, for sure. There's a few I did. Went to Ireland, that one of my favorite ones. I just did, like, a lot of line drawing and stuff. Because I mean, before I was more into illustration, I was more like a fine artist, you know? So I was, and I took this class called visual journalism that I, like, absolutely loved, and we would just kind of travel around Baltimore and draw. Um we would kind of visit different spots and draw and, you know, things like that. So, yeah, like if I go to a museum and I see artwork that I like, instead of taking pictures of it, I actually just draw thumbnails of it. So things like that. Just kind of instead of the photos of it, I kind of like the idea of drawing it and like interpreting it that way.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to draw? Is it yeah, I don't know. That's too big of a question. Let me narrow that down a little bit. What what is No, no, we're gonna keep it there. What's some
Yeah,
of your favorite things to draw? Like, and not necessarily rubber bones like type, but the type of drawings that you're talking about. Like, is it when you're in a beach setting, when you're in like
I like drawing
mountains?
people.
Oh, people.
Yeah,
Okay, like characters or
just like capturing somebody. Like if I'm sitting at a coffee shop, right, and there's somebody sitting, kind of like how can I capture them, you know,
like how do you
quickly.
do you draw them and then give it to them, or you just draw them and just
I
kind of
have
hey,
done
you
that.
know?
There was a time actually, my great grandmother was in a nursing home, and I would bring sketchbooks and I would draw, um, different people that were in the nursing home, and I would talk to them and kind of, yeah, I would talk to them and kinda, like, get their story. Sometimes I don't know if those stories were real, but, it was really cool. I really, like, had a good time doing that. I met some really interesting people. Um, Now I have kind of sketchbooks filled with these kind of very, I don't know how to like, I don't know, just people with very interesting lives that, like, I never would have met, or, you know,
The book of wisdom from
I wouldn't have taken a picture of them, you know what I mean? But now I can look back and I can say, "Oh, like, you know, I remember her, like, she told me about, like, you know, she had a really hard life, or, like, this one was a vet, and this one," you know. Most of them are women, I don't know, but because
I think we should normalize
men.
spending more I think we should normalize as a society spending more time with elderly people
Yeah.
and listening because I love a good story. Like I I remember being in the airport in the military and I was coming home from I don't know, either I think it was probably one of my trips to Iraq or somewhere. And there was this old guy there and we used to travel in our uniforms when we would come home for R&R. And this guy comes up to me and the buddy of mine that I was traveling home with and he's like, "Oh, thank you for your service and all this," and he was telling us a little bit about, his story. Well, it turns out, right, the story because we started piecing it together because we know history, we went to school. Um, dude was at the Battle of the Bulge, like, they were, like, eating people to stay alive, and he's thanking us. Like, where I was at over there, they had a PX, they were buying TVs.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Dude, you were eating people to stay alive." I mean, I don't know if he was, but, like, that was going on.
yeah. Mhm.
And I'm like, "What?" So, yeah, we need to normalize that. Um, anyway, sorry, went way off there. But no, thanks. I think most of us probably have a little bit of an alter ego, but artists definitely tend to.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, you gotta have something for yourself, right, with your talent.
for sure.
So well, no, so, getting us, close to close, let's talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about the collaboration, super excited, I know that'll be coming out soon. but the future of Rubber Bones, right? Where do you see Rubber Bones in the next, you know, year to maybe 5 years?
It's a good question. What? One thing that I mean, it's been interesting having a child and doing all of this. I think short-term goals, like, 1 year, I see myself, I mean, really just trying to stay above water in terms of just, like, keeping my practice and, like, figuring out, which has been going I've been drawing a lot, which has been great. I've been really utilizing his naps, but, like, finding that, rhythm now with this kind of new normal, which never seems to normalize because it's always changing. But I would say, like, in the next 5 years, just keep, like, showing people, like, what Rubber Bones is and trying to get the word out there, and I think just also developing the brand more. One thing I'm always working on is, like, my brand identity and those values and kind of asking myself if I'm sticking with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, you've got a lot going on, and, when you're, head count 1, CEO, founder, and every other department, uh, that can be tough, but look, I can tell you, at least from my perspective in the caffeinated jiu-jitsu community, we love Rubber Bones, love everything that you've done and everything that you're doing. Super happy again that we're collaborating and that you're, affiliate partner. Anything else, right, that you wanna add before, we jump off? Actually, didn't ask this. What's next, for you on the mats? Are you gonna be, you may not be competing, I get it, life's crazy right now, but is there, anything that you're working on there?
Working on not getting injured.
That would be very difficult to add something like that right
Yeah,
now if you're walking around in a cast.
I came back and then immediately almost broke my toe training, my big toe. But that yeah, it was really painful. It's still not great. I mean, I still don't have my range of motion back, but I can train again, so that's all that matters. But, yeah, what's next? I think, one, I just been really loving doing the gi again. So I think really kind of, like, taking the step back and, like, relearning some of the things and revisiting that. Yeah, and then also just kind of, like, I'm still trying to get back to where I was before having the baby. So, I mean, that's pretty much my goal for this year is to, kinda get my body and my mind back, into that space, and that I would say that's probably nothing too, like I'm trying one thing I'm trying not to do is, um I can be like I said, I'm meticulous, I have a perfectionist kind of personality at times, so I think I'm trying to make sure I don't give myself too lofty of goals or, like, stressful of goals, so I think, like, right now I'm keeping it, like, get into training 2 times, 3 times a week, lifting in my little garage gym I've slowly been building, and
We are
yeah.
in the same world, my friend. My gym's like this. I'm like, I got clutter all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm going twice a week, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I
yeah,
don't have infants, but I remember those days, but I have, you know, full agenda. I mean, I'm leaving here and I'll have about 13 things I have to do for
mhm,
somebody. So, um, no, it's wild. It's wild, but you know what? It's fun. It is. You wouldn't trade any of it.
yeah.
Any so no, that's awesome. Look, thank you so much for, thank you for the partnership thing, but thanks for your time.
Yeah, of course, it was great
You're a
talking to you.
partner. It's always responsive, and I probably blow your phone up more than I probably should, but yeah, just appreciate everything. Love what Rubber Bone stands for, what you've built, and excited to see what's next. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
cool, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for the listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, you'll be able to connect with Maria and Rubber Bones, visit the website. All of that will be in the show notes. And until next time, keep your passion brewing. If I can